Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I started a Sunday gym because I've noticed lately that people tend to go to colleges and universities without actually knowing why they're there. And afterwards, starting jobs that are unfulfilling. So I'm interviewing different professionals to see what they have to say and share their knowledge and experience with you. I hope you enjoy it. Right on, Lorna. Thank you for being with me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's beautiful here and yeah, couldn't ask for better.
Glad to hear that's pretty solid attitude. The program will be focused on three main questions. What do you do for a living? How did you get there? And how did you know this was the way you go? So tell us what you do for a living, Lorna.
Okay. So, I am an author and I'm also the managing editor of a women's magazine. So I'm a writer and an editor.
Are you also the owner of the magazine or just the managing?
I'm not the owner of the magazine. I'm just the managing editor.
Right on. Those are two pretty solid professions. Not to mention difficult to run, especially in today's digital media, because
Mhm.
it's not like it was before. So definitely quite something.
Yeah.
Um, could you tell us a little bit more in more details about this?
Yeah, so I've always been a writer, literally since I could speak, since before I could spell, I was spinning yarns, I was telling stories. I'm just gonna brighten you up a little bit so I can see it better. Um, I think that was just something in me, something I was born with. Um, and then as an adult, when I started doing a lot of normal jobs to make money and realized I hated all of them, no matter what, even if it was something I was good at, even if it was something I excelled at, I was just like, I can't like live like this. I kind of started taking any writing job I could get, blogging, just anything anyone would pay me to do. And so I just started creeping into that world. In the meantime, I finished three novels. It took until the third one to get one picked up. That was like a decade long, 10-year ordeal to
Quite
get
a
a book.
commitment.
I'm sorry.
Quite a commitment.
I couldn't help it. I don't think I ever had a choice. People kind of admire it and they want to hear that there's this like process to to like organize
I
your day
think
to
I know
be here.
exactly what you mean because there was this fellow that I had here, and he's just for people like you, and I've talked to people like you, for you to put you in a 9 to 5 job is like you're in hell. Not
Hell.
because you don't perform well. I think it's like a spiritual issue. Correct me when I'm wrong, of
Oh,
course.
it was I like depression. Yeah,
Yes,
terrible. Yeah.
that's a good. I'm the absolute total opposite. I
Okay.
start at 9. I finish at 5. Sometimes I can, stay at the office for a little longer, to help a
Mm-hmm.
colleague or something, but that's it. Now, folks like you like you can wake up in the middle of the night if you happen to have
Yes.
some thought about it.
Me
Start
neither.
writing. He was a writer and a composer. Start compose. I I couldn't. I know those people exist, but honestly, I told him then and there, like if we are roommates, I will throw you out of the window. That's this is great. But people like you, it's like the spirit is burning in that kind of way, and you just can't help it. It, it it's your nature to put it like that.
It's true. When people try to like force me into more conventional paths, I don't do very well with that. Um, Everything in my life has to have meaning, I realized everything. And if I'm doing something that I feel like it's like just for money, it like I cannot like reconcile that in my head. But writing and understanding humans and making people connect and even the magazine I do is a lifestyle magazine, and it's the only women's magazine in the state I live in. I live in South Carolina, and I'm in the U.S. And just knowing it's given this voice to all the women in the state, it means something, so I can get behind it. I couldn't write for some magazine where I didn't care about the subject. I couldn't do it. So yeah, that's kind of where it comes from with me. It's just I have to. I don't have a choice.
As I said, I absolutely. noticed that because folks like you have this very specific feature within you. And this is why, well, the second part is, how did you know that this was the way to go? And as a second question, because you kind of already covered it, because it was like within you. So I really appreciate the fact and the whole thing that you have been just, how to put it, probably you kind of knew yourself, as from what I'm getting, you knew yourself, so you just went with it. You just knew how to go there.
If I had one superpower, I actually think that's it. I've said it before. I don't know. This sounds almost arrogant, and it's not. It's just true.
No.
I've never met a human, I think, who knows themselves more than I know myself. I've always been the same person. And that's not to say that I can't grow, but
that's not about growth. That's not about changing views. That's about knowing you. That's like knowing.
I make decisions in 2 seconds. I am never someone who has to stop and think about it. You ask me something, boom. I know what's in there, and I know if I sit and weigh it out for 30 minutes and agonize over it, I'm still going to circle back around to what my gut said to do, what my intuition says. And I've always been that since people who knew me when I was 2-3 years old and know me now at 37 years old, my family will say that she has always been this person, always the same person. So it's just kind of who I was born to be.
I'm actually the same way. And like, for example, as I said, I'm 9 to 5 kind of guy. And I knew what I was going to do for a living when I was 16 or 17. So, I mean, at 17, I was already in college, but 16 or something. So I can 100% relate. And I've talked to a few folks from the United States, and I've noticed that there is this issue over there that's similar to what we have here, and it's also in Asia as well. I'm sure you probably have noticed, especially being in that sorry about that, especially being in that sector, communication, magazine, stuff like that people tend to go to colleges, universities, and they don't actually know why they're there. They have this stigma that you should go over there to have a diploma and to secure your future, which, to be honest, was never really true. Of course, there are advantages in college. I'm not arguing it. I went to college. I did a master's degree. I'm about to do a PhD. So clearly, I'm not against those institutions. But I happen to be an isolated case, and in many times, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
In many times, people tend to go over there just because they have that stigma. They start something that isn't for them. Later on, they start a job that clearly isn't for them. And you just cannot be happy if you're miserable half of the time. Like, because if you do something you hate, that's a huge portion of your day, well, you're going to be a miserable person. And I've noticed something else. Being a miserable person, that negativity actually transferred to those around you, whether you like it or not. And I'm sure that you have noticed that as well.
Well, I know I would love to speak to that. So college in America has become such an easy thing to do. It used to be more difficult. People could, if you didn't make the grade, you didn't get in, or if you didn't have the money, you didn't get in. And now if you don't make the grade, there's somewhere it's going to let you in.
Yep.
We have so many grant programs, which that seems really great on paper, but it's kind of this thing that anybody can just have. And so everyone does it. And then you're also conditioned to make sure you just get some degree. So you do end up in this box on this path. And many people don't know themselves, don't know what they want, and they just think I'm a loser if I don't finish this. My own college experience, so I graduated high school at like the top of my class very well. I went to college, was making great grades, and then realized I was miserable because all I wanted to do was write all day. I didn't want to take the other classes. and I dropped out of college, and everybody's like, it was like this huge, like, what a loser you're gonna be. What a waste of intelligence. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish my novel. Just let me do my thing. And now I've ended up the managing editor of the only women's magazine in South Carolina because, yes, there were people with more education than I had applying, but not with my skill. I was like, look what I can do. Look what I can do. Let me do this. Look at what I've written. Look at how I edit. I know AP style. I know everything they know, maybe better because I care. And so it's just one of those things. I took a very weird path. I was scared if I finished college, I would end up being an English teacher, or, language arts teacher. And I would have hated that. And my family was very big on, oh, do that and just write on the side till you make it. I was like, oh, wait, but then my writing will be second. Like, oh, no, that's not going to work. And no one got it until I made it. And then everybody was like, oh, good job, but, and I don't know. I mean, I've made it to a certain extent. There's still this whole other level I could get to, but, my other superpower, honestly, I have two. One, I've always known myself, and two, I cannot exaggerate enough how much I do not care about other people's opinions, almost to a fault. Like 1,000 people could tell me something, but if that is not what the inside of my body tells me to do, there's like no chance I'm going to do it. And I don't care what they think. I care how other people feel. Like, I'm not going to be rude to people. I don't want to hurt people, but there's very few people I will take. If I want an opinion, if I truly am confused about something, I will seek someone out whom I think is an expert, who's someone I would want to like emulate and ask that opinion. But you're usually getting opinions from people who do not have the same goals that you have, and often have not had the same successes that you hope to have, but yet we take their advice because everyone says this is the way to do it, and the numbers.
So you don't know their intentions, and that's another thing that should be taken.
And sometimes they have good intentions. Is the worst part. They think they're helping you, but I don't know. I'm just very much my intuition, myself, God. That's kind of what I listen to.
That's absolutely splendid, and it's perfect the way you're doing it, because first of all, you're not supposed to listen to others. You're supposed to, you have your senses, and you can see what's in front of you and just do it and be done with it. And once you do it, you put it away and you start the next thing. And honestly, listening to others all the time is a huge and colossal mistake. And again, I believe that this whole listening to others is basically the reason why most people are miserable, because
it is. And they live their whole lives that way, and it never occurs to them. Well, they think, oh, this is the way it is. It never occurs to them, I do not have to do it this way at all. Like, at all. I don't have to do any of this. It's bizarre to watch. And I think in America, it's almost worse, because you have these people who you're taught to, you've heard of the American dream, because in America, you can be anything, and you truly can. But when kids are having these huge dreams, everybody thinks it's so cute and they're encouraging them. But then once they get old enough to do them, they're told to do something safe instead. And they're like, oh, wait, we told you to dream your whole life, but now let's winnow down. And then people get just this incredible sense of letdown, I just wasn't here for it. I wasn't going to do that and just be a brick in the wall. I can't. And it's okay if you do want to just do kind of that average Joe thing. If that's truly what you want, it's totally fine. But like, people want all kinds of things, but we're boxed into just a few. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's 1, 2, 3 paths. Choose one. So
recently I interviewed a girl, and she's basically everything you and I are talking about right now. And she went to college. She was miserable. She didn't want to go on. And literally her mom told her that she's embarrassing herself if she doesn't graduate. Like, hey, first of all, you're a grown woman. You cannot embarrass your mom. You can embarrass her when you're in a store as a child and start. That's the way to embarrass a mom. But once you're 20 something, you can't embarrass your mom because you're a separate person.
No.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And
And
that's emotional, that's manipulation. If you tell
yes,
somebody,
on a
an
high level.
adult, do this or you're hurting me, that's manipulating them. You should say, do what makes you happy. That, that's not fair of the mom to say that, but you know.
It absolutely isn't. And I was blessed in that manner. From my mother's side, I'm the only person in the family that isn't a doctor.
Okay.
All of them were doctors, and a couple of years ago, actually, because I never really thought about that. And I
Hmm.
asked my mom, you never pushed me to be a dentist or anything. What was that? And she's like, well, if you wanted to, even if you felt it, like, you would have just come to me and asked me. Then you never
You would
brought
be a
that up.
dentist.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good. Like that's pretty good way to raise a kid. Were you raised in a similar way?
Um, yeah, I was. Honestly, my parents were really encouraging of my dreams. Neither one of them were thrilled when I wanted to stop college early because they were like, oh, like it would just open up so much more. But they also weren't like devastated.
Yeah.
Um, they were kind of like, we've got to let you do you. And they kind of always knew that of me. If they didn't let me do me, it wasn't going to go I was going to do me anyway. And so I was not like a rebellious bad kid. I was just,
Your own.
I was in my world and I
No,
was a writer and I was that. But they're supportive. My dad is more kind of the artsy one, which I think he always like held back a little. I think that there was this side of him that if he had just thought a little harder about it, he should have been like a songwriter or something like that. He's a musician. I think he's a better writer than musician, probably. I mean, he's a good musician, but he just has this kind of soulful, like he gets people, he can write. He could have written beautiful songs and sold them all over Nashville. But and my mom's a nurse and she's more of the 9 to 5 type, like
yeah.
let's do something stable and secure. But I think she kind of admired the art about me, even though she didn't get it. She definitely isn't someone who like could identify with me on that. She almost was like laughing, watching me shaking her head and kind of loved it and was like, who is this person that came out of me? And I liked that about her because she always feels like my biggest fan because of that. But my dad just kind of, we see eye to eye. So I think that there were parts of them that understood it and just kind of let me spread my wings.
That's absolutely beautiful. I've noticed that children that grew up in that kind of an environment have often way more stable lives.
Yeah. And my parents are divorced, and there were not always times that were wonderful, but I will say this about them. I never saw them not getting along. Like if I had a birthday party, they were both there. If I had something, they were both there. They were never like, oh, I'm not coming because your mom's there, your dad's there. It was always,
Beautiful.
it came to me. They were a team and they still are. Like when I had my daughter, they're both there, like holding her together. Look at us. Look what we did. This is our grandbaby. So they did that right. They both, there's this verse in the Bible that says love covers a multitude of sins. And so I think no matter what happened at the end of the day, there was love. And that covered everything else. So nothing else, mattered because there was a lot of love.
You're bringing something up that's remarkably important, if you ask me, and that's the removal of the ego. Because from what I'm hearing, none of your parents have that ego. They did their own thing. They let you do your own thing. They
Right.
didn't impose on you. Not to mention, especially that beautiful thing you say, I'm not coming over there because he's there or she's there, which means that there's no ego in there. There's no competition. There is no struggle to say.
I never saw a power struggle with them when it came to me.
Yeah,
I have never thought of that, but I never saw that out of them, either of
all
them.
of those issues that we're facing, all of us, and I'm talking to people from all over the world all the time. All
Hmm.
of the issues, I believe, are based on the ego. Like, I have to have a diploma because of what somebody will think of me or something. I have to have that kind of a job. And I'm not going over there because this person is there. And that wounded ego is, I think, the biggest enemy we're facing on a daily basis.
You're absolutely right. I would agree 100% on that. Yeah. And it's so much what is expected of me because how I'm going to look in front of someone else, which is ego, 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 and putting and giving all your power away at the same time. I'm sorry about the dings. I silenced my phone and texts are coming up on my computer and I don't know how to turn those off.
No, I couldn't even hear anything.
Oh, you couldn't hear it? Okay,
no.
Good.
There's a dog barking. I hope you're not hearing that.
Oh no, I didn't hear that, but I would have probably thought it was my dog.
I knew this microphone was good when I bought it.
Yeah.
100%. This truly, the ego is without any shadow. I think basically even the pride, everything is coming out of this ego. And when I was young, I was a very, very prideful person. Like my, as crazy as it sounds, my ego actually had me convinced that I was responsible for things that happened before I was even born.
Yeah.
I know how crazy it is. And I was like, why didn't I prevent it? Because I wasn't born.
Right.
But my teenage years were like
responsibility. That. Yeah, I kind of get that. I think things are my fault that have nothing to do with me. That's where, this is one I've talked about my superpowers. Now I'm going to talk about a flaw. I think if there's a close friend or family member or someone I'm like intimately connected to, I think it is my job to fix them, to help them reach their fullest potential, to like anything that goes wrong in their life is because somehow I didn't intervene and like make it okay for them, which is crazy because I would not ever want anyone to intervene in my life. But I think like I need to intervene in theirs. I'm going to tell them to stop texting. Hold on one second.
I had that talk with a colleague of mine and she asked me, so are you seeing someone at the moment? And I was like, no, I'm not seeing anyone at the moment, but you know, it's more like a woman trait that to fix a man. And because there's like plenty of room for fixing over here,
right?
Like there's a lot of things to be fixed. So it's basically when they locked me in during COVID and I had like 25 Star Wars games. I'm like, oh, okay, now we're doing it. So I guess that's why women like me a little bit.
That's funny.
That's really funny. That was pretty solid. If you don't mind, I'm always leaving this for the last segment because it's rather important.
Sure.
You know, and as we covered it, not only the young generations actually suffering from this, we're all are. Do you happen to have any words of wisdom? You're already like the solid foundation. Grew up right, didn't care, followed your own instincts, being aware of what's going on, and just be you. But could you just like synthesize in a matter? I'm not asking for a blueprint because it's impossible to give one, but nonetheless, a couple of words of wisdom.
My biggest words of wisdom are just be authentic. Don't follow crowds, but also don't purposely try to be weird for the sake of it. Just be what you are, the normal parts, the weird parts, the average parts, the not so average parts. And think about what in this world actually brings me joy and just start following that. And eventually you will land where you're supposed to be. You will find a way to make money. You will find a way, even if it doesn't start with that, even if it starts in hobbies and this and that, and just, you know, meeting the right people. And what you can't do is just sit still. I mean, the younger generations right now, a lot of times they are so confused by thinking they have all this time, and you don't. And you should enjoy life. Like, yeah, stop and smell the roses, but it's not like one day you pack up your joy and get serious. Like, that's also a terrible thing to think. So just start achieving in a way that is joyful for you and start young. And it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. Like, there were parts of my growing up that were great. There were parts that were horrible. And it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter. Like if you stop just assigning power and assigning matter to things that don't, you're fine. Just start from where you are. Where am I at today? Am I somewhere safe today? Am I somewhere where something makes me happy today? And if the answer to those two are no, first get safe and, get yourself in check, and then go back to the drawing board. But don't do things to make other people just out of the sheer reason that someone else said you had to. That cannot be the foundation, is that it's the rule. Examine the rules.
I love when you said about it being authentic, because either the human eye or the human soul, I can't tell for certain, but it's like we're trained on a subconscious level to detect the fakeness. And you can tell when someone is genuine, even if you're in an argument, even if you and this person do not see eye to eye, you can tell that this person means it. And you can tell easily when it's fake, unless it's about politics, because those guys are good. Those guys are real good. I'm impressed. I actually used to, my career started in the government sector. And I was working in the National Railway Infrastructure Company in the department for the EU funds. And it was awesome because my boss at the time, and we're sitting in a room talking about it, and then he's giving an interview about what we talked. It has absolutely nothing to do with what we talked about. He was so good at it, even I was confused, and I was there 3 minutes before that. I was like, I missed something. What happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys excluded. When you are authentic, you're being yourself, and this is the best thing you can ever be, because there cannot be another Lorna. A woman can learn how to speak like you, write like you, act like, but it won't be the same, because this is you. So as long as you're being authentic, it's always a perfect win, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Right on. With that said, Lorna, it was an absolute joy to speak with you. Please send me the links about everything on social media. I'll make sure to include them in the description below.
I sure will. Thank you so much. I had a great time chatting with you. I really did. In the spirit of authenticity, anytime I speak on podcasts, it's completely what I think, and I enjoy it so much, just getting to know other people and putting my ideas out there, and somebody cares enough to listen. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Likewise, and we should do it again sometimes.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a remarkable day. Bye.
Bye.
Guys, I hope this one was useful. Please follow the channel on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Gap, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Ring the bell and all the good stuff. Have a nice week ahead, and I'll see you next Sunday.